Hi, I'm Zayn from One Direction, and this is our autobiography. My own personality individually is quite reserved and can tend to keep myself to myself sort of thing. So I guess that kind of made me, I think, a bit more of a backseat person in the group. When I was young, I used to kind of just like my own space and like to do my own thing and play video games and just chill out, do my own kind of artwork and stuff. And like I don't know, I wasn't like a negative child, I wasn't like a kid that was like, I don't want to play with other kids. It was just I had three sisters. They were playing with Barbies and doing girl stuff, and I just kind of just like doing lad stuff, do you know what I mean? So I just read me comics and just chilled out by myself, and that's why I was the way I was, I guess. Marvel Comics. I've now created a cartoon character called Ghost Rider. Well, the Ghost Rider was already created, but they've based the new one on me, and yeah, that's pretty mad, like to even think of, because, like I said, I used to read a lot of comic books when I was a kid, so something I was interested in, and yeah, it was just mad to hear that they'd took the time to make a comic book about, well, an image even based on something that I'd done as a joke, which is quite funny, do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's amazing to see that. I love the comic book art, it's amazing as well. I used to do a bit of acting, a little bit of drama here and there at school, and yeah, that was like one of my favourite subjects at school, along with like English and maybe a bit of science. I guess I enjoyed acting when I was in school because even though I wasn't even that shy, or like, I didn't have like social problems or anything. I just kind of just wanted to be in my own space. I enjoyed my own space. Um, but then when, like, I guess I took myself a bit serious, maybe, but I enjoyed my own space. So when I was a character, if whether it be a comedian part or whatever, comic part, or whether it be a negative part when I was playing a villain or whatever, it gave me a chance to be like a different aspect of what I was. Do you know what I mean? So it gave me a chance to be funny and kind of be a joker, and people would see that and be like, "Oh, he can do that as well." So it was interesting for me, and it did give me a chance to kind of show different sides to me. Do you know what I mean? So I did enjoy doing that. And then, yeah, when you're in a band and you're just portraying who you are as, maybe, as a musical artist, if you're just trying to sing and be about the music, then you're just being yourself. I think behind that is probably the coolest thing to do. But at the same time, it also adds pressure because that's just you and that's just who you are. So if people don't necessarily like that, or people judge that or whatever, then that would naturally affect you more because that's who you are. When I was in, I think, year eight, I was like 12. I did my first school performance was Grease, and we didn't sing in that. It was just the acting side of it, so that was cool. I enjoyed that. That was fun. And then we did, I think, Bugsy Malone, and yeah, I was Bugsy, and that was fun. But yeah, all my experience, before X Factor was just doing school plays and a little bit of acting here and there. When I went to my first audition, I chose quite an R&B song. I chose Mario, Let Me Love You, which was obviously R&B. That was like one of my favourite songs at the time, and that's what I wanted to do on the show as a solo act at 17. That was my idea. I wanted to do R&B, be the first person to do that. I think, like when I look back now, um, given my experience and what I actually knew about music and stuff like that, I think that is quite a brave decision to make, to go on X Factor and be like, I'm gonna be the first R&B person. But it was cool and it got me here, so there's no complaints. I kind of just hoped something was gonna happen for me, and I kind of just dreamt that it was gonna, like, even though necessarily, there was no indication, that I was definitely going to be a singer or an actor or whatever, but I kind of just wanted to be. And even to the sense that, like, when I was like 12 or 13, I kind of still thought that there might be a chance I might get some superpowers and be a superhero. So yeah, I was definitely a dreamer. Yeah, it took me a bit longer to grow out of that. It wasn't like a driven ambition inside me to be like, I want to do this, but it was like something that I liked doing, and something that I just hoped that would happen for me. And obviously, knowing now how hard you have to work in the industry and stuff, is obviously that for me was a bit of a dream, because I didn't realise how much work you would have to put into it to be in that position. But at the same time, it kind of did just come around like a dream. Like X Factor was a bit weird, and the whole experience was a bit strange. So yeah, I was definitely a dreamer. It was the first time I'd been on a plane when we went to, it was actually judges' houses, to Spain, and we took off on the plane, and I remember looking over to Louis being like, I'm a bit nervous, it's the first time I'm on a plane, and he looked over to me and he was like, it's fine man, it's cool, it only does a loop like twice, and then it's fine, it doesn't do anything else. So what do you mean? He was like, yeah, it's just gonna spin round a couple of times. But yeah, it was a funny time, and they fully took advantage of it. I feel like the band chemistry kind of came together when we went to Harry's place, and we spent some time there, and we just stayed there and kind of got to know each other. And then, really, probably it progressed as we were on the show, on the X Factor live shows, because we got the smallest room in the house, in the X Factor house, and there was 5 of us, and like everyone else had these like massive luxurious rooms, and we were like in this little box room with like 2 bunk beds and a single bed, like all crammed in the corner. And I feel like living in them close quarters and in each other's space for that amount of time, going through that intense experience of the X Factor that you're doing, it's a pretty mad experience. I feel like that kind of cemented us as a group, and just seeing other people's behaviours, and how they would act and how they would do something or whatever, we were like, maybe necessarily we don't want to do it that way, maybe we want to be a bit cooler about that, we don't want to wear our sunglasses inside and be weird. But yeah, and that kind of cemented us, because instead of trying to be something else, we were just interested in each other and looking after each other and being a band and being what we were about. I remember we did a few gigs when we came off the X Factor, and they were like up in Scotland sort of area, and they were a bit crazy. There was loads of people just passing out and doing mad things and screaming, and we weren't really expecting it, because we didn't really know that people paid so much attention to the X Factor, which obviously is one of the biggest shows in the UK at that point. So yeah, it was quite strange, but at the same time it was a lot of fun, and then first gigs were amazing, and being a part of that was really cool, man. It was wicked. I feel like every sort of generation has its thing, you know what I mean, whether it be fashion or whether it be music that influences it, they all kind of go through a stage of, the 90s was R&B, then you got this and that, and you've got different periods of time that go through different things. So I feel like our time is kind of controlled by the social media aspect of things, like Twitter and Facebook and things, and our generation has kind of took it upon themselves to be like, okay, this is our thing, social media is our thing, and we're going to do things through social media now. And that they kind of just wanted to prove a point by making, whether it be a band or whether it be an actor or a model or whatever it is on Twitter that they want to make big, they can do that with the power of their opinions and what they feel and what they think. And it's quite a interesting thing. I feel like they were obviously a massive part of why the band got as big as it did, because it was their opinions, and people could see that the want and the demand was there. Like, we didn't have to go to a country to find out whether we had fans there. Like, we already knew, because they were saying stuff to us on Twitter and sending us tweets and sending us gifts from different countries. So it was like, oh, we know we've got a demand there, we can go there and go put a record out. So yeah, it was a massive help. in the studio, like I found like everything was really like particular, and certain words had to be said a certain way, and the producers, not in a bad way, but just had to get everything to a certain way because the song had to sound a certain way. So it was completely different to, you know, singing normally for me, because I didn't really have any experience singing in the studio before, so I kind of just did my own thing and find my own melodies and do whatever. Went over to America. The first couple of gigs were a bit like, this is a bit different, it's not about us, the show's not about us, we're supporting somebody else. It was a bit, you know, daunting at first. Like, we didn't really know what to expect over there. We didn't really understand how it was going to take off for us, because we went out to support like a different band, and it was so like surprising for us, because I remember coming out like the first couple of nights, and the reaction was a bit different to what we were getting at home in the UK, what we were used to, because obviously we just come off the X Factor and we were doing gigs at home. Then after like maybe 3-4 shows, people started singing our songs and like knowing our lyrics, and then it was a bit different. We were like, this is cool. But then people were telling us that that wasn't normal, that the support act gets that amount of attention. But it was at the same time, we went there with What Makes You Beautiful, so I feel like that was a good single for that time for us to kick our career off, I think, because it was perfect for what we wanted to say at that time. We came back from, I think it was America, the first time we'd been to America, and the UK fans were waiting for us in the airport, and I remember getting off the plane, and it was just like we were all a bit tired and a bit half asleep still, and walking through the airport, and then we just see this big like crowd of people waiting outside, and I remember the security dude was like, we've got a lot of girls out here, so you kind of all gonna have to stick together and like follow me as we come through here. So we all like huddled up in a bunch and followed him, and as we're going out, like there was just girls just running like from either end of the airport, like just running at us, and then like every so often like a little piece of your clothing would just disappear, and it was like Louis' hood had gone, like Liam's shoe had gone, like everything was like, whoa, what's gonna happen? And then you just feel your hair get pulled, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then I remember running out into the main like car park, and there was like a box, like ticket box there, and there was nowhere else for us to go, so our security guy just ran us into the ticket box, and the ticket box was basically like see-through. There was glass all around it on the outside, and then the police had to come, and we got taken out of the ticket box and put in the back of like a riot van and driven out of there. So yeah, that was pretty mad. I was asleep in bed the night before I'd been out, and my manager rang me up and was like, oh, I've got some good news for you. You're the first like British band to get #1 in America. It didn't really sink in. I don't think it's still sunk in. That's one of the biggest things that we've ever done, I think. Like, yeah, because it's never been done before, so it is a big achievement for us, and I don't think that'll ever sink in, you know what I mean? That's going to go down in history and be a record that's there, unbeaten. We're the first. In 2012, we did meet Michelle Obama because her kids came to, well, the president's children came to our gig, and yeah, she wanted to meet us, and they took us into like this back room. It was strange because we had to like go through like a metal detector like thing before we could even meet her. So, you know, you meet somebody important when you have to go through airport security to meet them. And then yeah, it was so cool. Like, she was just so normal. She came in, she was like, how are you? You're good? She was like, my daughters love you. You should come over to the White House sometime. And we were like, oh yeah, just as you do. Yeah, that was a pretty crazy moment. The day before the Olympics, my girlfriend was getting her hair dyed, bleached, and I just thought it'd be funny to put a bit of bleach in front of my hair, so we did. And then I forgot that I had the Olympics the next day, and I was just a bit worried that, yeah, people were going to be a bit like, what the hell is that? But I just did it for a joke, and it wasn't a serious fashion statement, and I apologise for anybody I may have offended. My first tattoo, sorry mum, was a tattoo on my chest. I got my granddad's name. She wasn't too upset about that. It was only little, and it was her dad, so she was happy about that, my mum. And then I got a few little tattoos, and then they got bigger, and yeah, we magnified the size of my tattoos a bit, and then I just ended up getting loads because I kind of I like tattoos. I just like the way they look. They're cool. There was a bit more pressure on the second album. I think that's just a natural thing because we just wanted it to get bigger. We didn't want it to be like a one album thing, and it all ended there. We wanted it to be a longevity thing, and we wanted to grow with our fans and really just get more involved with the writing side of things with each one, making it more personal to us, and obviously therefore making it more personal for our fans. So yeah, there was a bit more pressure. We were a bit nervous about it, but it went down quite well. I think we got the right balance of songs on that second album, which was, kind of tied it to the first one, but gave us enough space to kind of, mess around with new lyrics and new ideas. So that was cool. From the second to the third album, there was even more involvement with the writing side of things, and we just wanted to really get what we were thinking at that time across in the music by, just changing slight lyrics, maybe just not too much, but just enough to kind of get exactly how we would say something across and exactly how we would portray something. The third album was really cool. I feel like there were some good songs on there, and I enjoyed making that one. That was fun. I wouldn't ever, want to be called a celebrity. I just feel like the more that you meet famous and celebrities, or famous people that are meant to be, celebrities, that's the tagline for them, the more you realise that they're just normal people like you are, and that if you're a normal person, that they're normal people as well, and there's no difference really between them and anybody else. They get up in the morning, they do normal things the same way that everybody else does. They go to sleep on a night the same way that everybody else does. There's nothing really any different. The only difference is that they are, talented in a specific field, and it's nice to meet them people because they can be quite useful in terms of just getting their perspective on things, because they've been doing it for a bit longer, and like they've sussed things out a bit more. So it's cool to get their perspective because you can kind of learn things from them in a way. I think, for any artist, like, to be told that they're going to perform in a stadium is pretty crazy. I think that's like the pinnacle of what everybody wants to do. They want to perform in front of a stadium full of people because they want to feel like there's an interest in their music. People are going to come out of their way and come and see them, and of course, like, performing to a theatre was even amazing to see 200 people, but the more it multiplies and the bigger the scale, the more you feel like you've achieved something bigger and you've done something more, you've made more of a noise. So yeah, it was a crazy thing to see how many people would actually buy the tickets and come and see us, and then obviously we get to run the show through. So we were rehearsing on obviously the same stage as what we were going to perform on. And yeah, I remember seeing it and being like, this stage is massive, like, and the show is so big, the production, everything behind it is so big, and it kind of not adds a pressure, but kind of adds an excitement and makes you feel like maybe you have to take it up a level because, the stage is so big, so your performance has to match the things behind you, I guess. And yeah, it was cool and nice to see that stage and know that we were allowed to perform on it. Obviously, it's so amazing being on stage, seeing your fans, being all around the world, doing that side of it. That is amazing. But with everything, there's always a negative side, and the only negative really with our job is, the fact that you do get a bit homesick and that you don't get to see your family and friends as much, and that sometimes can get you down a bit. But you've just got to be like, take the good with the bad and look to the good side. I think that, if I did this by myself, it would be a lot more difficult, simply because having 4 other people that do exactly the same thing as you, go through exactly the same experiences as you, have the same life experiences, even to a certain extent, because you kind of have lived the same life for the last 3-4 years, is a really, really useful thing, because you can kind of talk to these people about how you feel and express really what they're feeling inside as well, and they can get it off their chest as well. So it is cool to have that, and it would be more difficult to be a solo artist, I think, and that's why sometimes I do look to solo artists, and I think I feel a bit sorry for them because they don't have that. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we have like a proper camaraderie, and we have somebody to talk to about things, which is at times a big, big help for us. So would be helpful for them probably as well. I don't think the whole One Direction experience as a whole could ever really sink in from the beginning to this point now. Like, you see people achieve things and do big things and people be interested in it, but I never really thought that it would actually happen. Like, I was a dreamer, and I always hoped for something to happen, but I never expected it. Do you know what I mean? It was always something that was like, yeah, it might happen. So for it to be around you and kind of be physical and there every day is a weird thing, but at the same time it's a fun experience. And yeah, if it ever sunk in, I don't think it'd be fun anymore. It'd be weird. It'd be like, I deserve this. This is rightfully, mine to take. And it's not. I don't think it's ever anybody's. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that happens to you, and you should just be grateful if it does. And I am.